So we're streaming now. We'll see how that goes. And what I'll do is I'll switch between monitors, between me on the screen. And I know you guys can't see me because OBS can only handle one camera at a time. Robert's gone. Did he go?
I don't know. Did he drop off?
It looks like Robert dropped off. Yes. We done scared him off already.
He'll be back. I think he maybe he just touched something wrong. I don't know. I think he'll be back.
I think so. I hope so. He has the link, so it should be okay. So we're
Okay.
live right now. So
Good to see you again.
it's good to see you
It's
too.
it's it's been a while. So
Yeah, we haven't hopped pretty heavily on chatting, so it's been a little bit. Somebody named
yeah.
Cunt Blaster said, I'm hearing voices. Help. So it seems like we're live on Periscope, so that's okay. So I'm going to switch over. So we're switching in between the big monitor here, and we have Gonna Go For It. And then we have me. I guess Robert is preoccupied. Hello. Hello, everyone. So I thought for this particular chat, we could essentially talk about the different ways of engaging in science communication. So let me send a message to some people. Live now, hop aboard.
Hello?
Hello. You're
I got
back.
kicked off. I'm back. I'm back.
Yay. Okay,
All right.
so um, I don't normally stream on Sundays, but that's all right. Um, So what I'll do is I can put myself in the corner here. Nobody puts, is that like a dirty dancing thing? Nobody puts a baby in a corner.
Huh.
So I can put myself in the corner and up on our chat here to where people can kind of see what we're talking about. And because OBS is a cool thing. So I've got you guys on the big monitor, and then I'm in the corner on the side. So I thought for this particular chat, we could talk about the different approaches we have in regards to talking to people who are resistant to science. Recently, I just posted my podcast episode of Hey Scientist Mel. This is episode 12, where I talked to Evo PhD, also known as Dr. Amanda Glaze. Peter and whoever Stephen H is. So, Dr. Amanda Glaze, if you're not familiar with her, she's on Twitter. She's Evo PhD, and her research focuses around evolution education and those who are resistant to learning about evolution, because we know that's a thing, especially in the US. That's something that's a bit of a hot button issue. That coupled with the other things we're seeing with education right now in regards to safety. Hello, everyone. Hello. So I thought it might be cool to have a chat with some folks here about how we approach engaging individuals who are resistant to science. And my way is a little bit different from others. So I'm going to give the ball. We got Chris here. Chris, so when you engage with people on the internet, because I know I see you a lot, trying to get people to interact with you in regards to evidence, what do you feel is like the largest obstacle? So I'll say this for Chris and for Peter. So what do you guys feel is like the biggest thing that makes you, well, it looks like Chris doesn't have any hair. And so I would
I
like
have
want to
none.
like rip mine out. So, so what do you guys feel is like the biggest obstacle? So,
Well, the biggest obstacle is the person that you're actually dealing with. And that I have learned through my interactions on Twitter and my personal experiences is you can only have conversations with people that are ready to receive the knowledge. And that if you're a reproductive specialist and you are talking to someone who is convinced that storks still bring babies, you just have to tap out. You have to back out. This person isn't ready to have the conversation. And so when it comes to science, evolution, whatever the case may be, if we can't start on an even ground, I just kind of tap out because I've learned the hard way. There's certain people that just can't be reasoned with. But if it's someone that can be reasoned with, then we can have a conversation. And no matter what town you're in, there's a major university sitting right there. We can go talk to an actual scientist. We can go get answers together. But until that person is ready to receive it, I tap out. I actually don't bother. And real fast, and because I'm going to fade here soon, I remember talking to a coworker, and we got on the topic of evolution and all this other stuff. And I remember her telling me or asking me, in order for evolution to be true, doesn't that mean a monkey has to give birth to a human? And all I could do was tap on her shoulder and just walk away. That's someone who's...
Oh, bless.
Well,
bless
yeah,
her.
because that's like saying, you know what, the earth is flat. Let's have a conversation. That's not someone who's ready to receive the knowledge.
Right.
So don't waste your time. Just walk away.
I see Jackson has joined us. Hello, Jackson.
Well, hello.
Hi,
Hey,
Jackson.
Hey, everybody. Let's have some fun.
Let's do it.
So is Jackson going to sing to us so we can all do like the science communication conga? Da, 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 da,
Do I need to pick another 80s song?
No, by all means.
Because that was... Mel knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes. Jackson has the
Separate Ways.
knowledge.
Separate Ways,
Separate
the
Ways. Journey.
Oh, God. Yes.
Though
Journey.
we touched and went our separate ways. Yep.
Wait.
If he ever hurt you, true love won't desert you. You know I still love you. Though we touched
That was a great
and
video,
went
by the
our
way.
separate ways.
Indeed, it was.
Great video.
Steve Perry is the man, It's just like, who can sing like Steve Perry? I don't know that we have anybody
Nobody.
on the planet. Nobody. Not a single person.
Well, they replaced Steve Perry with some guy. And they kept saying how he sounds just like Steve Perry. And I'm sorry, Journey without Steve Perry is like Van Halen without David Lee Roth. It doesn't work for me, and so I have to back out. It's not going to happen.
It's like when you say this is macaroni and cheese, but there ain't no Velveeta in it. You're like, just
Please, no.
There's no Velveeta here, man. This ain't mac and cheese. This is some powdered crap. I understand.
Oh, yeah.
People like the powdered crap with butter, but there ain't no Velveeta, so it ain't real.
Yep.
So
We all have our standards.
And standards are important. So.
Oh yeah.
So essentially what we're talking about tonight, and I didn't do my intro that I normally do, so I'll save the intro for the outro, I guess, on the end. So what we're talking about tonight are the things that when we interact with people, whether it's online or in person, how do we go about getting across evidence and trying to do this science communication thing, because this is a real thing. So I brought up the fact that I actually did a podcast episode of Hey Scientist Mel with Evo PhD, and her entire research is just in educating people on evolution. There's a whole branch of research trying to get people to understand evolution, and so that kind of tells us the state of the nation in regards to science education, in that people don't understand evolution for cultural reasons, religious reasons. There's all kinds of different reasons why they're resistant to science, and they don't need to be mutually exclusive. So I have people on the panel tonight to kind of talk about their individual experiences in regards to interacting with the general population, and how do we go about kind of educating others without having them completely shut down. So recently I wrote an article about the importance of language, delivery of content, establishing authority, but removing yourself as a threat. So what I want to do is kind of, and Chris has talked a bit about this in regards to what he feels the obstacles are. If somebody's not willing to receive this information, how do you go about disarming the elephant in the room of saying, hey, look, I know you think the devil planted the fossils and that's why you think evolution is wrong. So I kind of opened that up to the panel. What do you guys think about that? How do you go around trying to disarm people from seeing you as a threat?
Cricket.
Oh,
Peter, do you want to go first?
that's a difficult one. One of the people who think that I'm a threat is actually in the live talk, so maybe we can get some response from there. But I don't know. The only thing that I can do is try to be nice, and people who are watching our videos are always commenting on the fact that whatever happens and whatever the response of the people that we're talking to is, that we try to stay nice. We don't start name calling like they might do, but it doesn't always help. It's hard to break the barrier and to make people at least see that you're not the enemy. You might even attack an idea, but you're never attacking a person as such, and that can be quite difficult to break that. So, and that's difficult because there's no one set way to break through that. That depends on the person, I think.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
I got,
okay.
yeah,
No,
I
just
got,
kidding.
I got cut off, and I just caught the tail end of what Peter said. We're attacking ideas and not people. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Yeah, and there within lies one of the huge problems, whether you're talking science, religion, politics. The moment you use words that are emotionally loaded, like stupid, idiotic, it kills the conversation. Even though, right, if I say, wow, you don't accept evolution, are you kidding me? That is a stupid mindset. The conversation immediately goes from evolution to, why did you call me stupid? And now you're on your own heels saying, I didn't call you stupid, I called your idea stupid. And people have a hard time separating themselves from their ideas. So the moment you attack an idea, you have essentially attacked Reginald. And Reginald cannot separate himself from his idea. Reginald may believe that the earth is 6,000 years old, God created it, devil, planted fossils to, test your faith and all this other crap. And you can say, man, that's a really stupid idea. Mm-hmm. Reginald only hears the word stupid. That's it. So, I think some people, myself included, could probably do a better job of not using emotionally charged terms, because the moment you drop certain words, the conversation drops. It goes to, I need to defend my person versus I need to defend my ideas.
I kind of agree with that a little bit. I know having to have dealt with trying to educate students in the past, I don't think it's a big secret. I used to teach biology, and some of the core standards that I was required to teach by law even was evolution. And so having known the culture out here in regards to religion and having to teach something that students have been taught was evil, that's an uphill battle right there. So for me, the way that I went about it was I would sit there and they were like, well, why don't you talk about creation? And I would get that a lot in my classroom. So what I would do is address the giant elephant in the room. And I would say, I have degrees in science. I have degrees in science. I have a master's just in teaching science. I have another master's in science alone, chemistry. Would you bring your car to me to fix? And they would say, well, no. I was like, I might have fun taking it apart, man. That sounds like awesome. Let me just take this stuff apart. Let me see how it works. But why would you want me to talk about religion in my classroom? I don't have degrees in it.
Yeah.
I'm here to talk about science. So if you wouldn't bring your car to me to fix, why would you want me to talk about religion? And so that the classroom setting, I concede, is a far different platform than trying to educate adults or being on the internet where you don't have the responsibility of trying to educate people and they needing to show that they understand it in the form of an end of course exam required by the government. So that's a far different situation. But I kind of like when I'm encountering people on the internet, what I try to do is say, you know, I'm not here to teach you about religion. I know about science. I just want to make sure you understand what words mean. So
Sure.
so it's like trying to address the giant elephant in the room in a way to where you're not saying, I'm not saying your beliefs are stupid. What I'm trying to do is make sure you understand what it is we're talking about and that you know what the scientific community actually represents. To me, that's a goal. So what do you guys think?
Were you actually confronted with the creationism song and dance, for lack of a better term?
Yes.
Holy crap! Go ahead, Jackson.
Oh, sorry. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I've talked enough.
Okay, I was when I was in sophomore year of high school, I took biology or Bio 1, and the teacher was a Catholic, but one of the students went up to her and asked, "Will you be teaching the creation theory also?" And she just told him flat no. And I only know this because he told me later. He was like, "I'm a little offended that evolution was taught, but the creationism was not taught."
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I trained a lady who we got on the topic. She's incredibly religious, and she hit me up with why don't you teach the controversy? And that's a phrase that I only thought I would hear online when listening to like Ray Comfort or somebody who's full of shit talk. But when someone in your personal or professional life says, you know, teach the controversy, it just kind of shocks the hell out of you because you think, wow, you know, this happens right here where you live. And all I could tell her was there is no controversy. There's an established science. There's a theory with, you know, robust predictive capabilities. And then there's bullshit that the earth is 6,000 years old and someone made elephants and giraffes and humans and everything else just the way they are. There is no controversy unless you go to church on Sundays. And so to hear that, you know, other people are experiencing the quote unquote teach the controversy just kind of shocks the hell.
Uh-oh. He dropped off again. I think he makes a good point though. It's just the internet really where you run into this teach the controversy stuff. That's a fair point because in the lab, yeah, as I'm sure you know, Mel, no one's arguing about this. You don't go into a lab and argue with your colleague about whether or not evolution is true. It's like, well, obviously it is. You know.
I want to point to something that has been said in the chat. BioLogos has some great resources for this, Mel. A comment from Cy Gart. It's when I see a comment like that, someone calling himself a scientist and then pointing to a website that brings in God to me already, then you have disqualified yourself as a science communicator.
Well, I think BioLogos makes some they make some fair points. Like, for instance, they pick apart the global flood idea. They're like, hey, this global flood thing actually came from the Sumerians instead of,
Yes,
originating in the
but
Bible.
why not go to scientific websites? Why go to a website that also includes woo? I don't get it.
Well, I mean, a lot of Christians accept evolution, and this is one place where Christians can go, where I would assume they don't feel like they're necessarily attacked or something like that, and so this is a softer place for, theologically speaking, to go, but also has good science to teach them about evolution, about the old age of the earth and things like that, and so that can be a very door opening for Christians who might be on the fence about whether or not evolution is true.
But wouldn't it be better to then address the point that science doesn't attack Christianity? Because to me that's still a silly point. I mean, there's nothing science does to in any way attack Christians or Christianity.
I agree.
That's a point that is made by I think the most harmful people there are, the creationists like Ken Ham, Kent Hovind,
Right.
Ray Comfort, and that is sustained by a lot of Christians on Twitter, two of which are in the side chat. So I think it would be better to address that and to counter that than to point to a website that includes a God based on no evidence whatsoever.
Well, I like what Dr. Glaze says about teaching science, is that, yes, science doesn't attack Christianity, and also what's really interesting is that if you teach the scientific method before you get into topics like evolution, your class is something like, or you increase the amount of people who accept evolution in your class by like 10%, 10 or 11%, something like that. And I think that's really cool.
I think also it's kind of important, especially if you take into consideration that people who are who see Christianity as a part of who they are, and that the creation is something that is integral to it, almost like how they identify who they are as a person. And this is something I talk about a bit with Evo PhD, who does research in regards to evolution and education. They have been told, if they've been told that a particular thing is wrong and evil their entire lives, and they're presented facts and evidence from a person who is not threatening, who is showing them evidence contrary to what they've been told their entire lives, there's a little bit of I won't say a little, there's a lot of pain involved there, because at some point they're going to have to resolve to the fact that they've been lied to, either by this person that's seemingly nice and non-threatening, presenting evidence, or by people in their church community. And the thing that I think that is inherently lacking, and this is something that Dr. Glaze and I talked about, is that there's no care after the fact for them having to deal with the fact that they've been lied to on some level. And so that's why, BioLogos, maybe that's not the most scientific type of website, but perhaps that's a nice middle ground to kind of give a little bit of care and a little bit of wiggle room to allow a person to be able to hold on to their belief system without it being completely ripped from them, and at the same time kind of have some kind of bridge between evidence and their faith. So but there's not a lot of care that I've seen in a lot of dealings with online interactions, or dealing with adults, in that they have to come to terms with that they've been lied to at some point. And so as science communicators, it might behoove us to kind of put in a little bit of care, saying, hey, I understand that this might be harmful or shocking to you, but I care about you as a person. I want you to know I think it's going to be okay, and I'm here if you need me. There's no care that's put into that. And having been a person that had to come to terms with the fact that I had been lied to, because I was brought up in a heavily Christian home, Nazarene. If you're not familiar with that background, have a look up on that. That's how I was raised, and I later became Catholic. But it's like having to bridge that and get my questions answered. There's no care put into that with the fact that somebody has been lied to. And so you have to be willing, if you're going to force this evidence on a person, to be there and say, hey, I understand that this might be painful, it's going to hurt, but I care about you, and I just want to make sure you have the right evidence. I want to make sure you understand what words mean. So I think that's kind of what's lacking a little bit in what I see with the mainstream scientists like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. I love them both, but they're very right on the nose, and you're like, but people have feelings, and this matters to them. We got to take that in consideration.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly there, especially places where creationism is a central part of the whole community. There are no people in this community who accept evolution. And so if you, for instance, figure out that you're the only person in the community who, or at least so you think, who's figured out that evolution is true, there's nothing that can be done for you.
Yeah.
A lot of times it seems you're just kind of on your own there, and and a lot of people have to keep it quiet and things like that. And so you're right. It is truly unfortunate that happens. And in a lot of ways, I don't see it really getting better anytime soon. It really needs to be worked on, definitely.
Well,
my phone.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I just my phone keeps cutting in and out, so I'm catching things as I dial back in. In terms of us, you said to say that we care about them and we want them to know the truth. We sound just like they do. The other side, when they say, "I want you to have this because I want you to know the truth because I care," and that's where my issue comes in, because we almost have to be blunt, which almost contradicts what I said earlier when I said your beliefs are stupid, because it is stupid, right? Virgins don't give birth. The earth isn't 6,000 years old. So sometimes you just have to punch someone in the nose to let them know, man, you're just dead stinking wrong, right? And
yeah,
I struggle with what's the middle ground, right?
And that's
Robert, fair. That's
go
fair.
ahead.
Robert.
Yeah.
Robert, that's also difficult. I have to say, I learned from Karis a lot. I can't stress this enough, and I think I've mentioned it in a lot of videos so far. To some, it is not only a belief system; it's an identity. It's their entire identity, and so I think when you're talking to someone, you can at least figure out if that's the fact with the one you're talking to at that moment, and then maybe try and find a way to break through that without actually hurting them. Because I think the moment when as you say, sometimes you need to punch someone in the face, and I know for a fact that you don't mean that literally.
Yeah, of course not.
But that also can be a conversation stopper. So it depends on who you're talking to and the responses you get. And I think that's at least for me, that's how I try to do it on our channel.
Like I don't believe that evolution is true. I accept the science. I have a bachelor's of science. I can read journals. I don't believe in evolution. I accept the facts, right? When the other side, it's different because their quote unquote scientific beliefs are tied into their religious beliefs or whatever you want to call it. Therein lies the issue. That's why if you overturned evolution tomorrow, I would still go to work. I'd still be okay. It wouldn't rock my world. I'd be interested in what is going to take its place. But when it's someone's ideology, when it's someone's religion, like you said, when it's someone's identity, therein lies the problem. Right? And yeah, when you...
Oh,
Whoops.
sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. I was trying to do something because I noticed somebody said something about description in the chat. And
Yeah, I just saw that.
and I can't fix it on my screen. And so, yes. So, okay. So in regards, I will fix the description later because the problem I'm having, especially with Restream, it's added a description in regards to my talk that I had with Dr. Stephen Hobbs. That stream went on for 30 minutes after I thought I had stopped streaming. So I will fix that stream on YouTube. So that will not be in the description later. So as you were, it is from an earlier session, because I did have Dr. Stephen Hobbs on last Saturday. Not this past Saturday, but the one before, and we talked about his work in regards to science education and what he does in his community. So that is not part of the description, and I can't fix it on my screen without messing up this particular stream, but I will fix it so you don't have to worry about it. As you were, gents.
All right, I came back. I got cut off again. What did I miss? Sorry.
You just missed a wrong description of the video, so you didn't miss much this time.
Gotcha.
No, it's quite all right.
The God I don't believe in keeps cutting me off the conversation, so I'm gonna hang in there for a little bit longer until my eyes get really, really droopy and I can't complete a sentence. So.
He is all powerful. He keeps suspending me from Twitter, so we'll have to be careful.
I was about to say, I mean, quick right hand turn. What the hell is going on with all these suspensions? And it's disturbing because it's the people that I like following.
Yeah, that's.
Am I allowed to ask that question?
Sure. I mean, this is an open chat. I mean, we can go around different avenues, and social media is one way that we can communicate science. So, yeah.
It's. I think it's even part of that because all I do is try to point people to the correct science on Twitter, and it seems that I've now become a threat to several people on there who want to silence me. Yes, because it's not just me. We had a couple of suspensions earlier today, just I think just hours ago. Yeah, and I've been talking to this with about this with Aaron Ra. We're trying to get some attention. And I have to stress that we're not only doing this for atheists, because the same things are happening to certain theists, and I don't think that theists should be silenced or get suspended from Twitter for what they say on there. just for the same reasons that we shouldn't be silenced. I think it's the means of talking to each other and the means of exchanging ideas and things that is important, and we shouldn't silence people on there.
Sure.
And yeah, I don't know what's going on. I have my suspicions, just because of tracking back who gets suspended and who doesn't, and what do they have in common, and that at least that'll give you some kind of insight as to who could be behind it. I don't know.
Is suspension just a simple matter of someone saying, "Hey, I don't like Joe," and then Twitter suspends Joe?
Yeah, it's weird how Twitter works. It's just, I don't quite understand, because I've had issues with Twitter in the past where I've had a particular individual make like 30 plus sock accounts to try to harass me on, and they don't ban a particular ISP because multiple people can use the same ISP, but yet here I am with a person that's making lots of sock accounts just to try to harass me on. So it's weird to me that they would ban a particular ISP in general based on a few complaints, as opposed to somebody who's been arrested twice for harassing women. And
Holy crap.
yeah, so I mean, he's been arrested twice, and I mean, I had to get the police involved. He wasn't arrested on my account because he's in another country, and so the police did exactly nothing about it because he's in a different country. So, but still, you know, that's the thing that happens. So Twitter is inherently broken in regards to their banning and reporting methods. I know this firsthand from my own personal experience. I understand that's anecdotal, but having a very real problem as opposed to just somebody who's just tweeting, it's weird to me.
And that's something we want to address as well. It's not only the suspensions. We want Twitter to acknowledge that their system is broken and to address this and to make it better, because what you just mentioned, Mel, is probably a lot more serious than people just getting suspended, because getting suspended isn't that big of a deal. You can make a new account and you're back.
Yeah.
What happened to you is a lot more horrible and needs to be addressed even more, I think. And yeah, so we want to try and to get some of the bigger organizations to maybe help us and at least threaten with a lawsuit. We don't have to go through with that, but if that would make Twitter notice that there's something wrong and maybe try to find something to make it better, that alone would be enough.
Yeah,
but it's going to be difficult for sure. It's not going to be easy.
No, it's not going to be easy at all. And the thing is because they have their algorithms that are put into place that handle probably I would say probably 70% of their issues. I think that's a generous percentage when it comes to people that are just trolls and being jerks. That's one thing. But, you know, we do have a very real problem in regards to social media with bots, with trolls that push false information. Twitter just recently started removing verification from individuals that push hate speech. So Nazis are finally getting their little blue checks removed. I couldn't get a blue check. They wouldn't give me one for my Twitter account, though it's me. I have a website that establishes that it's me in addition to work, you know, but they wouldn't give me verification, but they would give other people verification. So it's weird. Hello, everybody who's in the chat. I'm going to take a minute to say hi to everybody because I'm getting Periscope and YouTube people hollering at me. So hello. I see you. I see you. So,
Yeah, it seems Twitter wants to make the verification system a lot more open to people. I think that could be a good thing, but it won't stop you from getting suspended,
Wow.
as we've seen with. And now I forgot his name, the guy from the Satanic Temple, who
yeah, the
got
Satanic Temple was
yeah,
suspended for quoting a
But
tweet.
he really?
yeah, he quoted a tweet with a threat to torch the temple, and that was called targeted harassment. So yeah, if that's targeted harassment, then I can see why I get suspended, because if that's targeted harassment, yeah, that means that I'm guilty as well. It doesn't make it targeted harassment, but at least in their way of thinking. Lucian Grief,
Okay.
thanks, Beach Price. I have to do a shout out for Beach Price, one of the most amazing people on Twitter and YouTube, and she helps us with our channel, and
Yeah, Beach
always
is cool.
helps. If I struggle with something, Beach is always there to save me. So thanks, Beach.
Yes, Beach is cool. Beach is always on my talks, which I appreciate.
I guess I'm just kind of confused on where the line is drawn. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I
That's the
can't.
problem. There is no line.
Well, yeah, I've been targeted. I have been suspended clearly, but the number of people who want to do all these sexual acts to me contact me on Twitter, and that doesn't seem to be a problem. Someone quotes someone else's tweet, and all of a sudden they're gone from Twitter for 2 months, and I can't follow them.
That's weird. Yeah, there's clearly an issue in their algorithms. I don't know if it has to do with the number of people that you have following you, but pretty much any interactions that I have, I don't, like for my Scientist Mel account on Twitter, I always quote tweets to me. I've yet to be suspended, even though I quote tweet individuals. And the reason why I do that is not because I'm trying to harass them. It's because I'm trying to answer their questions, or they're saying something to me and I'm like, this is not what I'm about. Here's a statement I have. Please see this thing that I wrote, or please see this thread of tweets that I have. So it's weird to me. I think I have like almost 5,000 followers on Twitter, but I'll quote tweet responses to me. I tend to do that. I never just directly respond. I always quote respond. So if I were called out for targeted harassment, that would be weird to me, because I always quote tweet what people say to me as teachable moments, even not really that, look at what this person said to me, it's dumb, or look what this person asked me because I want you all to harass them. It's more like, this is my answer to this question. So that's where you kind of lose a little bit of context. And I think context is exceedingly important, especially when trying to establish motive on whether or not you're trying to instill harassment against a person. So that's why I have issues, especially with the Satanic Temple being banned, because they were quote tweeting something. They weren't necessarily instilling harassment. They're saying, why are you saying this to me? So and
yeah,
then,
well, he quote tweeted the call to torch the temple, and
yeah.
I think the text was something along the lines, Twitter is disallowed. Shouldn't someone like this be suspended from Twitter? And that was the targeted harassment they took from there.
Huh.
Which is a question to Twitter, addressed to Twitter, and the fact that you can get suspended over that, I think Greaves made the right call to go public the next day and say that he was about to sue Twitter over this.
Wow.
Because he should do that, and they should be called out for suspending someone's account over that. But he got reinstated in I think in mere days. So
Yeah.
at least going public worked, and that's why we're trying to go public with this as well. Maybe it can help, because it's, as I said, it's not only about people getting suspended, it's also about people getting harassed and
Right.
getting stalked on Twitter as well. I have a friend who has suffered from a stalker, and was called out by, let's call her a Christian, to reveal her identity, even though she was told about the stalking and the fact that this was a guy actually threatening her life.
Wow.
So I failed to see the compassion in them calling people out in public to reveal their identity. To me, that makes you not human in my
Sure.
So
Wow.
I mean, that's
yeah,
certainly fair.
and coming back to the science bit, I think that's also a part of the to-do list, to make people aware that sometimes your religion may cause you to be just a terrible person. Period.
Well, I mean,
Oops, sorry.
oh no, go ahead, Jackson. I'm just sitting here, just soaking it all in.
Oh, me too. That's what I've been doing. I'm just listening.
We are sponges, peripheral, right?
Exactly. I prefer homoscleromorpha, but that's also fine. Porphyra is fine. Anyways, I just want to say I have yet to be suspended on Twitter. Haha. And now it begins. The waiting begins.
I have a challenge now. I'm going to try to get you suspended, Jackson, because I think you need to be special. And to be fair, I haven't been either, so we should try to get each other suspended. This sounds like this is like some kind of like thing we should do. What would it take to get us suspended?
Mel, I can't get you suspended. Who will like all of my tweets? Who will give? What was it? What we were talking about the other day? Who will give me the notice I deserve, or whatever it was? The sweet validation. There we go. Thanks, Savannah.
Sweet validation. You're great. Your videos are wonderful. You know, so I try to boost you where I can. So.
Yeah, I actually found out PZ put one of my videos on the Pharyngula, and I was like, wow, how cool. I only found out because one of my viewers said so. But
you know, I just made my podcast episode with PZ for live for the Gen Pop. I call it the Gen Pop, the general population. Excuse me, because I always post it on with my patrons first on Patreon. I have to say, talking with him is probably one of my favorite episodes ever on audio podcast as well as live stream, because we talked about ethical cannibalism.
wow.
We talked about ethical cannibalism, and then, you know, it's like two or 3 days ago, somebody asked Richard Dawkins about ethical cannibalism.
Yeah.
I'm just like, dude, me and PZ already covered this.
I saw, I was actually looking for articles for a video I'm about to put out, and I'm not going to tell you guys what it is because you'll find out soon. But Yeah, I just saw the title of this article, and it's like Richard Dawkins on eating people, and I was like, something doesn't seem right here.
Yes, we talked about growing meat because I think PZ I think he's a vegetarian, and so we were talking about growing meat if it was from human stem cells. How would he go about that? What does he think about that? And so we covered ethical cannibalism because of the fact that it completely eliminates the parasites and the bacteria associated with issues on that. You're not harming any animals. You're not hurting anybody. So it's like, probably one of my favorite talks I've ever had has been with PZ Myers in regards to ethical cannibalism.
That is really funny. Yeah, it's true though. I don't know. Yeah, I think you'll be met with a lot of the speciesist people. You know, like we can't eat this animal because of what species it is. Like, what is it? The sign that says, "Where do you draw the line?" It's got like a chicken, a dog, a horse, a cow, and it's like, where do you draw the line? I've seen so many posts that where people are like, right here, drawing a little line on it. We actually had people at LSU one day. I'm not sure if they were vegans, but I wouldn't be surprised. But they had like pamphlets like, this is why it's wrong to eat animals. I was like, I never actually ran into any of them. A friend of mine gave me one of their pamphlets, but I wish I'd gotten to see them because it would have been an interesting conversation, I think.
I think we won't even get there, Jackson, because close to me there's a company that makes artificial meat, vegetarian meat, and they're doing such a great job. I mean, they make bacon that actually tastes like bacon and has the same structure as bacon. It's if someone wouldn't tell you that that's actually not bacon, you would be fooled completely. And I think that's where we're going in the future. We won't need to eat meat anymore, which I think is still a good thing.
I don't know. I like a good steak.
Yes, but what if you can
peanuts?
Yeah, but what if you could eat a steak without killing an animal? Wouldn't that be great?
Wasn't that like a thing in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? No, they killed the cow. It's like the cow came up to the table and he was like, "What part of me would you like to eat?" You know. What a good book that was, or a good series that was, I guess.
Oh my goodness! Somebody brought up PETA or PETA. I don't know. Yeah. It's funny. PETA actually blocked me on Twitter. On Twitter.
Really? Blocked you? That's hilarious.
On Twitter, yeah. I say PETA, and people are like, "No, it's PETA." I don't care. They're so irrelevant to me. So yeah, they blocked me on Twitter back in July or August of 2017 because I asked them what their current kill numbers were for the animals that they killed in their shelters.
Oh my God.
They got mad about that. They kill 88% of the animals that they save.
Holy crap.
Yeah, people are like, I didn't know that. I'm like, they spend so much money on advertising and t-shirts and, branding that they don't spend an ample amount of money on feeding and sheltering the animals that they rescue. So when that particular baby whale passed away or died in SeaWorld back in July or August of 2017, I was actively asking PETA, okay, so you're mad about SeaWorld. So am I. Let's get that together. I don't necessarily condone the behavior or the way that they treat the whales in that particular situation. But what are your plans to reacclimate them to the environment? Do you have a program associated with that, or would you just euthanize them? What are your current kill numbers for 2016, 2017? They wouldn't give them to me, and they blocked me shortly after that.
Are you surprised?
No. So
I mean, I think zoos do a better job of like rehabilitating animals than PETA does. Like, I went to a zoo in Florida where they're like rehabilitating manatees, which was awesome. I think.
Yes, and that's the thing. PETA, whatever you want to say about them, they have the ability. And so I recently wrote an article on my website, scientistmail.com, where I rip apart a blog post they have saying that computational models as well as in vitro testing is enough to where we don't need animal testing. And so I take the study that they quote and I just rip it apart. I rip it apart. And the thing is we still need animal testing. So if they would actually spend less time with frivolous lawsuits and funnel that into active, effective cancer research, we probably could move away from animal testing, but they don't do that. They don't focus all of this money that they get in towards active research to where we don't need animal testing. But the thing is, computational models, in vitro testing, they let us know whether or not we need to move on to animal testing. So that's helpful. That lets us know, okay, this particular compound is not going to work in a human model because we know it doesn't interact with this particular receptor in this computational model that we have. We don't need to do that, so we're scrapping that. That's good. So that reduces animal testing. But we can't completely eliminate it because of the fact that whether it's oral or intravenously, those are different biological pathways, and your body can break down these drugs in different ways depending on how they're administered. And the only way we can really understand that a bit better is through animal models. So if they would funnel all this money into that, and not selling t-shirts, hiring celebrities to be naked in public demonstrations with red paint on them. It's just, why are you doing this? This is not helpful at all. It's just, and then there were lawsuits associated with them stealing pets and killing them. So, I mean, they were literally stealing pets from neighborhoods and killing them to where they had to settle out of court for $40,000. So I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
I've never heard these things about PETA. I'm an ignorant, they're a naive child, and so it's just. I mean, I believe what you're saying. It's just just crazy.
Go to my website. I have a link to all. That's the thing. When I write an article, all of my references are hyperlinks, so you can click on all my hyperlinks and see the information there. Scientistmail.com, and you can read what I've posted recently about. They said that there's a post saying that if you're a vegetarian, you have a lower risk of breast cancer. And they're basing it on a study where there's a particular compound found in broccoli that destroys a certain line of breast cancer cells. But come to find out, it can also cause damage to normal cells. So
Mel, is it safe to say that you're done with cancer and you've moved on to PETA now?
PETA hates me. We are not friends. I've tried to be their friend and ask them questions, and they don't like the questions I ask.
Well, people don't like inconvenient questions. Especially, are those inconvenient truths,
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's life.
Going back to that, I'm the only one who isn't liked in this stream, so that might be due to inconvenient questions.
I like you, Peter.
Some still like me a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, my channel, I think, has gotten a lot of views because of what you've done for it, Peter.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I set out to do, because I don't want to get people to come on my channel to make my channel bigger. I think we're a lot more. We have a lot more strength if we all have our different channels, because we all will attract different people. So that's why I think we should support the smaller channels a bit more.
Absolutely.
Until they forget their roots and become big.
Yeah, we'll get a bigger coverage than just one channel, because if a person doesn't like a particular channel, everything that's put out on there is lost. So yeah, that's why I think having different channels is a lot better, and you also get a lot of different approaches, which I think is cool, and we can learn from each other while doing it. So yeah,
I agree.
I agree
We have
too. That works
Work
out.
together as a science strike force, as RJ says.
Right. We're like the Justice
Yeah.
League. I got my Wonder Woman back over there.
But we're gonna do better in theaters. Right?
Well, oh yes, absolutely. Gosh, we're more like,
We're the Avengers, the science Avengers.
freaking Infinity War.
well, with what I'm doing with the intros, Jackson, I could eventually end up being able to make a 3D movie we can pitch to
Yeah. Marvel Studios.
to the theaters and make our own Is Genesis history. That would be kind of cool. We could
That would be great. I would love that.
We could interview people like Mel and like PZ and Aaron Raw and have that put out in the theaters. I think
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah,
a lot
do
more good than the one we have right now.
Yeah, exactly the same, but the opposite positions. Yes, I think it'd be
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah.
And like you have like little cartoons of like the evolution of life on Earth, the origin of the universe, evolution of life, things like that.
Well, if we keep it to our own little group that already are our friends on social media, we could make an awesome movie doing that.
We have Dolby surround sound, and be like, in your face with 3D science.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And be honest, who wouldn't want to see an interview with Mel in a zoo somewhere or in a lab maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Which would be even better.
Well, see, yeah, they were. A lot of them were like in museums and stuff. The best part is though, we won't contradict each other's arguments when we're trying to argue for creation. Mel, seriously, they contradicted each other's arguments. They,
Wow.
one guy was like, "We are not closely related genetically to chimps," and in the very next clip, the guy said, "Well, we are, but it doesn't matter." And so.
This sounds like somebody I recently had, a few weeks ago, had a debate with. I'm like, you don't understand 90% of this paper. Like, yeah, but that doesn't matter. I'm like, yeah, kind of does. If you send me a paper you don't understand. So, do you not see the fallacy in your own argument?
Well, I think it would be cool and we could set an interview with Aaron Ra in the Creation Museum, for instance.
Oh, wow. That would be
Right
interesting.
outside the Ark Encounter. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think we'll get him back into the Ark Encounter again.
Oh.
I think he has done that once, and he won't go back.
Oh yeah, that's right. Eric was there. Oh man, gosh.
Yeah, I think Eric actually paid for him going in, and then he started embarrassing the guy from the Ark Encounter who. No, they were taking in because there was a storm outside.
Yeah.
Which Aaron actually thought was cool because he was hoping for a flood and then prove that the Ark wouldn't float. But that's another topic. But yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's something
if
concrete.
they wanted to get fully biblical, the party going outside the Ark. If you're gonna want to do a full-on demonstration of trying to flood the world again, the party going outside the Ark would be pretty lit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But
Exactly.
it to me it's a cool idea. I'm now in my head brainstorming how to make this happen. We won't get it into a theater, but we could do something cool on YouTube and then mirror it on every channel that's contributing to it.
Oh yeah.
That'd be kind of fun. So we have like a lit party outside the Ark and then go in the next day and be like, here we are, guys. Let's talk about everything that's wrong.
No, what I mean is Genesis history counterpart done by all of us.
The subtitle could be like just no.
Just no.
Yeah.
Somebody said I've had too many college years. That might be true.
Ah man, I'm in college right now and I don't party. I don't do that.
Jackson is a good boy.
I went to a bar once, didn't enjoy the experience. But there you go.
Oh, see. And then I
just
have
don't
my
like the smell of smoke.
Jackson, are you
I don't
going to
like
be
it.
on my Spirited Science show? Because I think you'd like the Whiskey and Darwin episode. I think that would be right up your alley to where we could talk about natural selection.
I'll bring like a Yoo-hoo or something. Does that count? Does that work?
You don't have to drink if you don't want to. I would
All
never
right, come.
ask somebody to drink if they're,
I'm pretty
if
sure
they're
if
not
I
a drinker.
If I took a single shot, I'd be down. I would be down. Okay.
I can't wait to see the first episode. Mel has talked about this a lot in the group we're in, and I just want to see this happen. This sounds so cool.
Okay, so just to show you, I've been planning it. I have like a planner and everything. So I have several episodes that I'm currently writing out right now when I'm not like working at my day job. So essentially, the episodes that I'm looking at, and see, here's the thing. I like scientists, I like science educators, I like science communicators and enthusiasts, but I want people, all walks of life to be involved. And so I'm writing an episode on Charles Darwin, Katherine Johnson, Tesla, and Rosalind Franklin. Those are my first 4 episodes. Okay? And so what we're going to talk about is their family, the theories that they help establish, societal obstacles, myths, falsehoods, their journeys,
That
impact.
sounds really cool.
So the thing is I'll generate a recipe associated with each individual one for an adult beverage. So for anybody who wants to watch, they can have a Rosalind Franklin, they can have a Charles Darwin, they can have a Katherine Johnson, and sit there and have a drink and talk about their wonderful accomplishments that they've had in science. And I will branch out a bit more and not just talk about scientists, but concepts as well. And so what I want to do is, people are like, is it like Drunk History on Comedy Central? Not quite that far gone. But it's more like Dinner for Five from Independent Film Channel, where you have people that just like science. You don't have to be a scientist to be part of this show. You can just be a person that enjoys learning. And so I want to make it accessible for not just scientists, but for anybody who wants to learn something new about a scientist or about a concept. And I'll provide the information that you need to know. So Jackson, if you were on Darwin, I might say, okay, I want you to talk about the myths and falsehoods. Here's this information associated with that. Read up on that, and then let me know what your 2 cents are.
Oh yeah. I kind of did that for Paul's video of me, and I really enjoy it because there was some really interesting stuff I got to learn about him.
Right. And so that's kind of what I want to do with that. So you don't have to be a full-on scientist or an academic in order to be a part of this show that I'm doing with Spirited Science. You just have to want to learn. And that's really all that matters, is, do you want to learn something new? And so for every panel member, I'll give them, you're responsible for learning about their family life. Here's information I found. It's reputable. I want you to kind of read up on it and chime in on that. You're responsible for their theories that they established. Here's information on that. I want you to read up on it and chime in on that. So it's really just to kind of help spark, interest, and to put people in the room with scientists as well as academics to where we're all on a level playing field. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that does sound very neat. I will look forward to it.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. And if you don't drink, that's okay. You don't have to drink.
You have to have a walk of shame, though.
Well, I can't wait to see the first episode, and there's another thing I can't wait for. I want to hear the music that's going to be in the intro.
Yes, I know Tony is working on that. Hack and slash.
Yeah. So if he pulls it off, what we have in mind, that would be awesome. I think. We'll have to wait.
Too.
We're making people curious now, and we're not going to say anything. They're going to have to watch the episodes, I think, to have it all revealed. And yeah, as I said, what you told us about it, it's going to be extremely cool. So but next month is the first episode, Mel?
Yeah, that's what I'm shooting for. Is next month the first episode.
Yay.
And the thing is I'm going to try to incorporate actual live streaming from pubs as well as restaurants. So I'm going to start locally. So maybe once every once a month or every couple months or so, I'll stream out of a brewery or a pub or a restaurant and incorporate, science locally with a couple of people on site and be able to talk about a particular scientist or their work or a concept and try to raise money for a particular charity or scientific research. What I want to do, and I hope I can do within the next month or so, if I can generate enough interest, is a Stephen Hawking time traveler episode, to where I can go and raise money for research associated with his illness. I think that would be kind of cool. So I would like to have like a Stephen Hawking time traveler party at a particular pub and raise money for research associated with his illness that he had, to kind of, be like, pay homage to his research, his phenomenal work that he did, and at the same time raise money for a good cause. So every month or so, or a few months, I want to be able to do that. And it'll be for different groups. It won't be exclusively for one scientific research group. So it'll be kind of cool.
If you ever make it to go international, and so do that from different countries, then I'm going to set you up. We have a brewery close to where I live, and they have a great pub in the brewery where you could do an episode from. So that the pub is set up because the brewery is I think 400 or 500 years old. So
Wow.
everything from their history is in that pub. So that would be a very cool place to do an episode from. And I think I have the connections that could help make that available just for that. So
That would be cool.
once you get it to go international and get to fly to countries and do your talks, then we're going to make that happen.
Well, I do have connections at the Crick Institute in London, because I did do a show just on the Francis Crick Institute in regards to some of their science outreach programs. So I don't know when the next time I'm going to be in London is, but I have a lot of friends there. So if I do, I'll certainly do a show out of London associated with that, which would be kind of cool. It'd be really kind of cool to do that. And I do have friends in Spain, so maybe Spain would be fun. I should just go handle this.
What you're saying is you're going to circle where I am, but not actually going to come over.
Where are you in Holland?
I'm in Holland. Yes, I'm
Holland, okay.
close to the German border.
Okay.
Very
Well, I
very
can
close.
hop on the Eurostar if Brexit isn't in full force yet.
Yeah.
If I fly into London, then I can hop a train and go the Eurostar to Holland.
Well, good luck with
think
that. I will stay here.
I think flying would even be cheaper.
Yeah, they
Uh,
say that. They say that, but you never know. Americans is far different for us. I tried to look at the last time I was in London, which was back October of last year. I tried to look at flying to Spain, and it was like, wow. It was so expensive. If I had booked it stateside, and it's cheaper to take the train if I book it stateside. So if I were to book it UK side, it might be cheaper, but it's
I think
crazy.
I think it is because I think a flight from Amsterdam to London is about $35, I think. So
Wow.
that's not too much. And the same goes for flying to Spain. It's not it. I think it's about 75. I
Wow.
think.
Somebody had mentioned a
And
Rosalind Franklin episode to be called the Crick Institute. Just as a side note, one of the members of my committee for my master's studied under Francis Crick. So I was just like, oh my God, you studied under Francis Crick. And I like nerded out fully. So when I got my master's in last May, one of the members of my committee had studied under Francis Crick.
The closest I've gotten to a quote popular scientist is unfortunately Alan Fiducia. He like got his uh, master's or doctorate at LSU. I think it was doctorate, and I heard like, oh, Alan Fiducia got his doctorate here, and I was kind of like, oh, why him? Of all the popular scientists, why him?
I am.
Mel,
I mean, no, nothing.
someone in the chat just posted something for you. There is a booze cruise from Portsmouth to Spain.
Somebody's like, you should just booze in science for like an entire cruise all the way to Spain, and just so are we doing
Yeah.
science booze cruises now?
Well, you'll have a setting for one of your episodes, and a very special one coming from a cruise, I think.
We're gonna talk about marine life. Oh my goodness, are we for real considering booze cruises for science? Of course. Jackson, would you go on a booze cruise for science?
Debatable.
If
I would
Jackson
have
won't
to
do it, I don't
consult.
know how I could do it if Jackson
I will
won't do
have to
it.
consult my subcommittee before making any such decisions.
What if it had like really fun, experiments that you could do, and they had like hands-on activities, Jackson?
I don't know. I think the alcohol would be a fairly hands-on activity, and then a hands-over activity. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. And then they could have like, all right, fill in this periodic table with all the elements that are missing. And if you get it wrong, you got to take a shot.
Oh my god, that would kill someone. No. It's like alcohol poisoning.
Here's the citric acid cycle. Write down all the enzymes associated. If you get it wrong, you got to take a shot.
Yeah, like where does oh my god, like what part does Rubisco? Where does that go on here? It's like, oh crap.
Here's hemoglobin. Draw out the structure. It's where oxygen attaches to which particular portion of the red blood cell. If you get it wrong, you gotta take a shot.
I think both Jackson and I would be out of everything quite soon because I'm not a big drinker.
Oh goodness.
I'd be down immediately. It's
Jackson's
like
on
first
the
shot, he's
floor.
done. He's done. Someone get him to a bed.
Poor Jackson.
Yeah, Don says Jackson can be the designated sciencer. I would have to be. Make sure
Jackson.
things don't get too out of hand.
Oh my goodness. Be like, hold on. We do not have pure sodium anywhere on the ship. We're not going to be throwing it anywhere on the ship. No pure metals.
No pure metals yet. Exactly.
That's not allowed. It's not that kind of metal ship. We will listen to Metallica, but we are not actually going to involve metallics. That would be Jackson.
Well, maybe certain amounts of aluminum, but ha ha ha, just the cans. Never mind.
I'm just looking at the title of this video. Could be the science of drunk scientists.
Oh, we're not drunk though.
No, but when you go on that cruise and then that might happen. So.
Oh my goodness! If we went on a cruise, yeah, that might happen. But I don't know. I don't know. Well, but the thing is if you're interested in being on Spirited as Science, hit me up on Twitter, my website, scientistmel.com. You can email me there. You can message me on Facebook. It's Scientist Mel on Facebook as well. You know, I'm so unoriginal. Everywhere is just like Scientist Mel. So if you want to be part of the show. Yeah,
I'm just my
Jackson Wheat, man. You sound like a cereal, you know.
I have everything is just me. I think it's easy for me to remember which stuff is mine because it just has my name all over it.
Jackson Wheat is the best cereal ever.
Jackson Wheatos.
Jackson
Wheaties.
Wheaties. Jackson Wheaties. That's right.
Jackson Wheaties. I was called wheat bread for much of my younger days. When I was in elementary school, I was called wheat bread. Was I picked on? No, it was just a common thing that people called me.
I like Jackson Wheaties because that's awesome. Just like I could just see Jackson sitting down on the floor of his living room watching cartoons, eating a bowl of cereal on a Saturday morning.
Saturday cartoons. I actually watched a video the other day about why those died. Very interesting video. Thanks to Cartoon Network, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a shame. But yes, Jackson Wheaties. So if you haven't subscribed to Jackson's account on YouTube or Mind the Gap on YouTube, you should go do that. And if you haven't subscribed to my account, I'm going to cry now because why are you here watching if you haven't subscribed to me? I'm so close to 1,000. I'm just like, if I get 1,000, there's more stuff on YouTube that's available to me once I get to 1,000.
You're gonna get there. You got to go on Paul's channel.
I need to. I've been meaning to get with Paul Logia, because he does a lot of cool stuff with science of sci-fi. So I need to get with him. I think he agreed to show up at some point in time. Just got to work that out, I suppose. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. He's awesome. I like Paul.
I like Paul too, and Shannon's cool.
I enjoyed watching the video, the clip, and going through it. Although I was just like constant sighing every time they open their mouths, because they're like, "Oh, this story. Well, that doesn't prove anything." Ha ha ha. It's like, oh my god. It was.
I'm still jealous because Tony and I I think we're the only two guys who will never get our Paulogia cartoon because we won't ever be featured in one of his videos. But he does make great stuff, and I'm pretty sure he can slip in Mel at some point because of the cancer research, and that's an upcoming topic every time. If you mention Eric Hovind with his cure for cancer, that
that's right. They sell like vitamins, don't they?
No, vitamin B17.
That's not even a real vitamin. That's funny. It's literally amygdalin is what that is. So it's poison.
Well, they've been selling whatever it is for like years. That wasn't part of the of Kent's whole jail thing, was it? That wasn't part of it, right?
I don't think
No, no,
so.
no.
Okay.
No, that wasn't. But Eric got called out by I'm not sure which organization it was, the Food Administration, to take it down.
FTA, yeah.
Yeah, and so but he didn't take it down.
Huh.
He buried it a little bit deeper into the website, and because it was somewhere at the front of the page when they flagged him. But he's still peddling it as a legitimate cure to cancer.
Yep. That's not great. That is no bueno.
Yeah,
but,
that's not okay.
But they can make money off of it, so you can sell pretty much anything because people will buy it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Those guys are nuts, though. But you should go on their show. You should go on Eric Hoven's show and talk to him about his vitamins.
Oh my God, I don't know that I can stand that. I don't know if I could handle that. Sitting on a show like that, but no.
I would love to go on a show. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I would love to go talk.
I've been on it once.
Yeah,
I made it once. I have to give Paul Gia credit because he basically told me how to do it. But it was a live show on Facebook, and I actually got to ask a single question, and that was answered by the guy from AIG, and now I forgot his name. The guy who designed all the signs in the Ark.
Wow.
It was about the resurrection of Jesus, and he got the question, he got the answer wrong because he came up with some argument that has already been debunked, but I didn't get to ask a second question. So.
Wow, that's a shame.
Well, I'm almost surprised they answer questions at all. I mean, I know that they Answers in Genesis. They look at their Facebook while they're doing the show, and they read off little notifications occasionally. It's like a running joke that Ken doesn't understand what emojis are for some reason.
He doesn't understand what emojis are?
No, he's like, what are these little pictures here? People keep sending me these little pictures, and Georgia and Bodie are like, those are emojis. He's like, emojis? How curious.
And he thinks that the more emojis people are posting, the better the ratings of the video are, for some silly reason.
That's great.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. They have a recurring thing about like rice pudding now, evidently.
Well, they're now into bashing Georgia Purdom as.
Oh yeah, they're weird. They are.
She's now a bear, and what was the other? She's a hedgehog.
No, yeah,
because she's prickly.
Yeah, Ken just treats his people like crap.
Yeah.
He does not really care about his people.
Wow.
No, and you can actually see Georgia Purdom getting annoyed over this in the videos if you look closely.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a weird like tension the whole time they're doing the show when he's there, though.
Yeah. So I'm just waiting when this will actually erupt, because it will someday. If he keeps putting down Georgia Purdom, who's probably at least the smartest one on the panel.
Oh, definitely. She's way smarter than Bodie.
Yeah. Oh, Bodie.
Bodie, I mean, he got a degree in mechanical engineering, so he's fairly smart, but he is arguing about things out of his field. He's arguing about like history and biology, and he does not have a degree in these areas.
No, and he has no clue at all what he's talking about.
Wow.
No, he doesn't understand like language transmission, for instance. He just does not understand the concept of how languages move from place to place. It's like to him, it doesn't matter because they love talking about the. He wrote a whole book on the Tower of Babel or Babel, but he also doesn't know how to
Yeah.
pronounce it, which is really funny. Um, and so, but he's like, yeah, no, all the languages just came into existence like
Suddenly,
a few thousand
miraculously.
years ago. Yeah, at the same time, it's like that doesn't make any sense in any world. But to him, it's just like, yeah, of course it makes sense. Yeah, why not?
What I find interesting is that entire story of the Tower of Babel is the fact that engineers were trying to make a tall building and God didn't like it. And so God generated confusion just for the sole purpose of preventing people from excelling. So it's just, a lot of those inconsistencies. It's weird. I was just at my mom's house earlier today for family birthday parties. And I come from a highly religious family. And so my mom and my brother were going back and forth a little bit with some, dialogue in regards to religions and as far as philosophies within the Nazarene faith and stuff like that. It's a Protestant faith. So if you haven't looked up the Nazarene religion, have a go with that. That's interesting. So she was talking about how there was a lot of hypocritical behavior. And so then my brother was kind of reinforcing that. And then I would sit there and I'd say, well, when I was in Sunday school, they said that boys couldn't have long hair and girls couldn't have short hair because then girls would look like boys and boys would look like girls. And I said, but what about Samson?
Ooh.
And so I was the kid that would say, what about Samson? Why would God make...
Hashtag what about Samson?
Hashtag what about Samson? And so, the thing is they're like, well, that was a blessing from God. I said, but why would God make a blessing a curse or a sin? So if you're saying that it's not okay for men to have long hair, why would he make that a blessing in somebody else? That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and that is really funny. What's interesting though about the Tower of Babel is that actually the tower did exist in quotes.
Yes.
It existed before the Mesopotamians, and it was dedicated to like a sun god or something like that.
Right.
And so the Christians were like, we're going to reappropriate this.
What I think is funny is that God didn't like people building a tower that high, so he destroyed it, and he muddled the languages, and then a couple of thousand years later, one of the most Christian nations in the world, being the United States of America, is excelling in building skyscrapers. Is there anything we can link to how that works?
Well, if we're looking at skyscrapers and construction alone, I know in the area that I live in, a lot of construction is based on immigration from people who have a language other than English. So there's a lot of parallels here when we're looking at construction, building buildings in tall buildings and progression of urbanization of land associated with people that don't speak English. So I mean, it's kind of it's a weird parallel from what we're currently living with the current administration to where we can't have immigration, but at the same time we have this inherent need of individuals that do not speak the language that the majority of the U.S. speaks, in order to build buildings that people want, but in the biblical sense are not allowed. So it's weird. It's a weird time. So I don't quite know how to go about a discussion on that. It's food
No,
for thought.
I was just wondering because pretty much everything that's forbidden in the Bible is running rampant in the U.S. So
Yes,
I'm,
yes, it is. I'm not saying you're
so
wrong. I could go for a long time talking about the injustice that we see in regards to various marginalized groups when it comes to the U.S., but that might be another stream. This originally started as trying to communicate science to people who are not receptive to it.
Speaking
So,
of explaining science, no. Yeah. I actually had a stream of kind of about that the other day, which I sent to you guys. I got RJ and Tony Reed in on it. Peter, I don't know where you were. Maybe you were asleep.
when was this?
This was
Last
a
last.
few. This was like for Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday.
he was
But
probably totally asleep.
yeah, you might have been asleep waiting,
I
or
was. I'm still.
pre-sleeping for
I'm
the
still.
show.
I'm still recovering. I was kidnapped last Saturday, and had to. I was forced to get back on Dutch time because I usually am on U.S. time. For instance,
Hmm.
it's just past 2 a.m. now, and
Wow.
I'm only part into to my evening, as it were. So I'm trying to get back to U.S. time because the people that I usually talk to uh, are asleep when I'm awake. So um,
Yeah, that's true.
I was probably still in transition. I think I made it this weekend, getting back to where I was time wise. But no,
Oh, but
I was kidnapped because we had our 1 year anniversary, and we had a
oh, that's
couple of days
cool.
in the center of the country in a national park. The girls had booked a cabin there, and
That's cool.
so
Sounds like
yeah,
fun.
yeah. So it was worth it. Missing some things on Twitter and on YouTube, but shoot me a link because I really missed it.
Oh
Uh,
well, it was Savannah and I were talking to the group that comes from Mississippi of these radical Christian people and very fundamentalist guys and gals. And so we were talking to this one woman here, and I was explaining evolution to her, and we were kind of talking. And so Tony Reed, RJ, and I were just kind of talking about that. It was very interesting because she said, because we basically got her to admit different parts of evolution, but then as soon as we said that's evolution, she would say, "Oh, I don't believe it," and she told us she would not believe something just because it was part of evolution, not because it wasn't true, really necessarily, but just because it was part of evolution. Even though I could explain to her satisfaction these different parts of evolution. So,
It's a little bit of conditioning, isn't it? To
oh,
think that,
definitely, yeah,
evolution is evil in itself.
yeah, it was, yeah, it was bizarre, but we had a whole chat about that. It was very interesting because I've really been trying to work on talking to apologists who come to LSU because they do the Gish Gallop. You know what that is?
I think so.
Yeah, it's when if they spit out like 10 topics in 1 minute while they're talking or whatever, and you
Okay.
can't respond to all the different topics. So I've been getting marginally better at staying on topic because I get they start spitting out all these topics, and like the only thing I respond to is like the last one, and then and so like they've completely derailed the conversation. But with
Oh,
her, I was kind of trying to not let that happen, and so we managed to get through the different steps of evolution, uh, And so I pretty much managed to convince her to her satisfaction that these little aspects of evolution were true. But yeah, it was just it's very strange, very sad. I think that they're conditioned like that. And I imagine they're all conditioned, even the children that they bring on their little trips.
Yeah.
Kids who are like 6, 7 years old. It's just crazy.
It's very sad and unfortunate, and I think that's inherently a big problem we have in the U.S. in regards to science education, is this cultural aspect of fear of science and demonization of science without actually saying, well, because of science you have medicine, because of science you have your cell phones, because of science you have the internet, you have your cars, you have all of these things. So this inherent demonization that I see in regards to science and aspects of science, it's really strange, because with certain groups it seems like they're willing to accept certain aspects of science, but the science that contradicts what they were brought up believing is off limits. And so it's weird to a degree, but I understand it, because they're able to just pick and choose aspects that suit their narrative and suit their perspective without taking into consideration the holistic aspect of what science is. And that, I think a lot of that comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of the scientific method, of what goes into a particular study.
Definitely.
So, it's weird, and education combats a lot of that. But when you have a profound amount of people that make you feel good about yourself, and see, that's the thing, people who are involved in communities where they say evolution is evil, it's wrong, etc., etc., these communities are a part of who they are. They go and they interact with them every Wednesday night, Sunday mornings, Sunday evenings. They have youth groups. They have all of these different groups that are reinforcing this feel-good thing that they need, especially when you're talking about areas. I'm in a lot of farmland area. There's not a lot to do out here. And so the kids go to church, and that's fine. It's a good outlet for them to go and to interact and socialize. But that becomes part of their identity. And so if you're going to introduce this evidence, this information that contradicts everything that's made them feel good about themselves, it's part of their identity, you have to be willing to sit there and talk them through and offer some kind of care. And so that's kind of what we were talking about at the beginning. There's just not a whole lot of that I see in regards to some of the mainstream science communicators. There's no care there.
Right.
There's no, I know this is what this is, and I want you to know I care about you as a person. And if you have any questions, I'm here. And you have to also know when to walk away. So if you have somebody that's pushing back really, really hard, you just kind of be like, okay.
Well, see, that was the interesting thing, is that she seemed interested. Wouldn't you say, Savannah?
Yes.
Yeah, so she seemed interested in what we were saying. Like, her eyes glazed over a few times because I used too many jargon words. But she seemed, but the parts that I felt like I was explaining well enough for her to understand, she seemed interested in them. Like, more like, not even that these parts are taught as evil. I mean, of course, evolution as a whole is, Satan's work or whatever, but these specific parts are left out because they're not important, or they're not understood to be part of evolution. Like, they don't explain, or the speciation process is ignored largely. But then you explain, well, this is how this contributes to evolution, and you start to see the gears turning. Like, oh, yeah, Savannah's right. The lady said, she hadn't heard of these different parts or these different things. Like, you can explain gene duplication to them, and they hadn't heard about that. or they hadn't heard of, or when they say things like there's no evidence that mutations have ever caused an increase in the function of some gene or whatever. Well, actually, here are several examples, or a new gene, there's like a gene duplication, and then this new gene is mutated, and so it causes a new function or something like that. And so they're just not introduced to these concepts, or they're just told flat out these things don't exist.
Yeah.
And so when you start bringing it up, it's like, yeah, you're right. You start they start realizing, hey, maybe I've been lied to. But then it comes down to, what are you gonna do about that? There's really no one. You're already in this community of heavily religious people, so where are you gonna go from there?
Right.
But,
and so that's kind of where, as science communicators, and kind of I saw this a bit as a teacher, you're not just a person who educates, you're also a counselor.
right.
And so you kind of have to take on this role of being a comfort to people when they realize that they've been lied to a degree, and not belittle them or make them feel bad, but to be open to sit there and say, okay, I understand that this is probably something difficult to deal with, but not condescending. So it's a fine line, and it requires you to really know who it is you're talking to. And what is it that they need in order to kind of process what they've just heard. So it's kind of weird, and at the same time, it's really, I feel that's where the battle's kind of won or lost. What is your goal in engaging people who are resistant to science?
Right.
Do you want them to understand, or do you want to fight? So it's,
I think in a lot of cases, it's almost that they're not encouraged to dwell on these. If I were to bring up, if they're presenting the argument to me that there's no evidence of an increase in gene function ever, and I bring up examples of gene duplications where this has happened, they're encouraged more or less not to think about this.
yes.
It's like in their ministry, because I read apologetics stuff, it's kind of a, oh yes, but hey, look at this. So forget about what you were thinking. Look at this thing over here. And that's kind of the arguments you get when you engage with creationists, for example. I'm sure it happens with lots of the pseudosciences. It's kind of this, yeah, but hey, what about this? Rather than admit that they were wrong, or at least admit that they will consider this point that you have corrected them on to their satisfaction, they'll just gloss over it and move on to something else. And more likely than not, they're going to go repeat the argument that you just corrected to them, to other people.
Right.
Because they're not going to dwell on it. And it's very unfortunate. I think it's very counterproductive, but it's part of the training, the conditioning to engage with people like us, to engage with college students, is don't really worry about what they're saying. Just make sure you get your message out there. And if they get you off the script, just return to the script and keep the message.
Yeah.
Because really what you're trying to, because ultimately it's not about the science. It really isn't for a lot of religious groups like that. It's not about the science. It's about getting the message of the gospel out there to save these people.
And
Yeah,
it's,
but
Because today we're just sinners who need saving.
But the science is disproving the message, and therein lies the danger. And that's why I think you can't reach a lot of Christians, because they have been completely indoctrinated with the fact that, for instance, evolution is a threat to Christianity, because it disproves what the Bible says. So therefore it can't be true. And that's something that's hard to break, I think, and that's why we need to address the guys who are peddling this nonsense.
Exactly.
And then it went silent. And then it went,
Peter, you wowed us into silence.
yes, I have to apologize because these days chats are saved as well, and I think I just
I see you've been speaking in non-American over there.
I've been speaking in tongues in the chat. But I want to do a shout out because it seems we have a lot of Dutch people in the chat right now. So
hello Dutch people.
Groeten uit Twente en welkom op dit kanaal. See, I can speak in tongues at will.
Yeah, I noticed recently there are a lot of Canadians in the skeptic community.
They apologize for everything.
Exactly. I apologize.
So we're coming up on almost 2 hours now. So how about we wrap up with some last thoughts on how to engage those who are resistant to science. To me, I feel it's important to establish authority, but to do it with kindness. What I've seen in regards to research is talking in regards to audio and visual is by far more effective than written word. And using words that are easily accessible to the general population. And I think a lot of academia, especially with professors who are used to using more difficult terminology in order to defend their data, they don't have as accessible vocabulary for the general population as, you know, somebody who's not heavy in their field. What do you think? What are your last thoughts, Jackson and Peter?
Go ahead, Peter.
Okay. Well, first of all, I usually direct people to both of your channels because I think you're both doing a great job in when it comes to science communication. It's something that I myself cannot do, so it's good to have the both of you in the toolbox to point people to. But for now, the only thing I'm thinking about is making that Is Genesis History movie. I think we should get together and make that happen.
Agreed.
Maybe it won't help that much in promoting science, but it looks like something cool to do. Yeah, as for science, I still think that channels like ours, where we at least try to communicate with people and be as kind as possible and maybe nudge them slowly to the real science, is a help, and then your channels come in to actually point people to the science and to debunk what they've been taught so far.
I agree.
I am Jackson. Exactly. Yes, I agree with that. I think we all need to work on convincing people of science. And also, we got to figure out a way to provide that emotional support for people somehow. That part will be far from easy, but it is something that, but it's something we need to do.
Agree.
I think so too.
Let Savannah take the mic. I mean,
okay,
when she's there, I think we need Savannah more on YouTube.
Savannah, say it again.
Amanda did say when I was going to talk that the best way to support a blooming atheist is to be a member of their church and show them accepted.
Did you guys hear her?
A little bit.
Not all of it. She needs to come
very
closer
quiet.
to the microphone.
You got to get closer to the microphone.
No.
Tell her Peter told her so.
She's being very shy right now.
That's okay. We
Oh
will
well,
assimilate
we'll get her on.
later.
We'll get her on screen sometime.
She will be assimilated. The Borg for all of my Star Trek nerds. So yes, I'm in agreement with all of you guys. We have to take into consideration some kind of aftercare in regards to introducing evidence that can conflict with deep-seated personal beliefs, be approachable, be likable, establish an authority type of position without being threatening and know when to walk away. And I find that if people can trust you, that you're not going to fight them about their beliefs. They're more likely to come to you to get information to answer their questions. So I want to thank you guys for being on here. Chris was on here earlier and he had to drop out. Jackson, if you've not subscribed to his channel, you should totally do that. He's got awesome videos in regards to biology. Peter is on Mind the Gap. They have their own channel. You'd absolutely have to go hop over there. And if you haven't subscribed to me, I don't know why you're watching me and you haven't subscribed. I need 1,000 followers, so please hop over there so I can have more features available and be able to do much more outreach.
Can I make a small adjustment to that, Mel?
Sure, absolutely.
The channel is the same as the name I'm in here in the chat. It's gonna go for it, and it's also a channel where Robert recently joined,
Yes.
and Jackson and you have been a guest on there, so people can find pretty much anything of their liking, I think.
Absolutely. And so please be sure to hop over there and get involved. And if you want to ask us questions at any time, we're all on Twitter. You can hit us up in the comments on this video. I have a website, scientistmel.com. For all my shows on Saturday mornings, I stream live 10 to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. For the Science Of, I will be doing compressed, shortened versions of pre-recorded episodes of the content that I have on my live streams called Scientist Mel Shorts. Soon going to be Spirited Science, where you will have adult beverages and talking about our favorite scientists and things that they do. So I want to thank Peter for being on here, Robert for being on here, Jackson for being on here. This has been absolutely wonderful, and I'm so glad we got to hop on here and talk on an impromptu type of chat. So I hope we can do this again soon sometime. I'll be on SciStrike tomorrow night talking about climate change and the evidence for that. So if you haven't hopped over to SciStrike, check out their chat or their channel. They did a movie night last night where they kind of rip apart logical fallacies of films. They're a fun channel as well. And I've also been on the Geek Room, so go check them out too. So,
Yay, Mel.
yay! We're everywhere on the internet. You will be assimilated, right?
We need. By the way, we need you to come on movie night sometime.
Indeed.
I've already lured Karis in there, so we need you as well. We need to have.
Oh, I was already at the movies. It was like, okay, so last night they were like, you should hop over a movie night. It was so late for me. I'm an old lady now. It's like I didn't get home till almost 11. I went and saw Tomb Raider, which is really a good film, especially if you like the newer video games. It follows along with that pretty well. So I went and saw the new Tomb Raider, and then I had breakfast for dinner, and then I came home and went to sleep. Instead of hopping on SciStrike on movie night. And they're like, you should totally hop on the movie night. And I'm like, I'm so tired.
And
that's how I feel when I do it.
You're complaining. I have to stay up on Friday night until 6 in the morning to get on movie night. So I'm never getting any sleep from Friday to Saturday. when I go on movie night, and it's worth it.
Yes, I hear they're fantastic, and I'm really glad that they invite me to do such things. I'll try. I'm gonna try to make it for next weekend for movie night, so I can hop on that. And I had already had plans to go out to the movies and out to dinner and stuff like that, and then by the time I got home, I was so tired.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, when he does movie night, it's not super late for me, but I don't know. I usually do it for like an hour, which is for me like that's what is that 11 to midnight? I think it's 11 to midnight here.
Yeah, it's probably something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I enjoy movie night. They're all so funny, but my problem is I don't know. Usually they do like flat Earth stuff. I don't know anything about physics, and so they're always like, they're talking about physics. I'm just like, I know a little bit about biology. I'll just sit here in the corner.
Sit here in the corner and eat popcorn.
I solved that, Jackson, by just being the devil's advocate when something comes up that I'm not qualified to talk about. So then I just throw in creationist or flat Earth argument.
I mean,
and
I really don't even. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, and I know you do that because I've been there. But I don't know enough about flat Earth arguments to even be devil's advocate for that. I could do it for a creationist, but I don't ever engage with flat earthers. I've not had any like come on my channel. I had an anti-vaxxer once, but no flat earthers as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I have one who started out being an enemy, and we ended up being friends. And he's a flat earther, and he's still a friend. So it can happen.
Wow.
Only on the hub. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for hopping aboard on this chat. We're at 2 hours and 1 minute, so we talked for a solid 2 hours. So let's do this again sometime soon. This was so fun talking to you guys. And thank you. Thank you all for watching.
Couple more people in here, and thanks for having us, Mel.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
This was so much fun. So thanks for hopping aboard, and I guess I will have the outro that Peter has made for me, one of the several that he has, and I'm grateful to him for making that. And thank you so much. I know that there's another debate going on a bit later. I think the non sequitur debate's going on in a bit, so have a go at that and enjoy that, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for being on here. Bye.
Bye. Bye.